This is Hoot, Chapter 18. Same scrawny brat I seen around here last week, Curly complained to Officer Delinko, only this time I caught the little bugger. Officer Delinko offered to report the incident, but Curly assured him that it wasn't necessary. He won't come back, I guarantee you, not after he got a face full of me. It was nearly midnight at the construction site. The two men stood next to the patrolman's car, chatting casually. Both of them privately believed that the real Mother Paula's vandal was still on the loose, but they would not share their suspicions with each other. Officer Delinko didn't tell Curly that the Matherson boy was too scared of alligators to be the vandal, because Officer Delinko didn't want the foreman to get all agitated again. And Curly didn't tell Officer Delinko about the bulldozer seats being stolen while the Matherson kid was in custody, because Curly didn't want Officer Delinko to put the information in a police report that some nosy newspaper reporter might find. Despite their secrets, both men were pleased not to be spending the night alone on the property. It was good to have a backup nearby. "Hey, I meant to ask," Officer Delinko said. "What happened to those attack dogs you had watching the place?" "You mean the psycho mutts? Probably hightailed it all the way back to Berlin," said Curly. "Listen, I'm fixing to turn in. Holler if you need anything." "You bet," Officer Delinko said. "And no naps tonight, right?" "Don't worry." Officer Delinko was glad it was dark, so that the foreman wouldn't see him blush. He'd never forget the sickening sight of his precious Crown Victoria, its windows painted as black as tar. Officer Delinko still dreamed of catching the offender and bringing him to justice. After Curly retired to the air-conditioned comfort of the trailer, the patrolman began walking the property, following the line of his flashlight beam from one survey stake to the next. He intended to do this all night long if necessary, to make sure the stakes weren't tampered with. He had packed 5 brimming thermos bottles of coffee in his car, so there would be absolutely no chance of running out. Guarding a vacant lot wasn't the most glamorous police work, Officer Delinko knew, but this was an extremely important assignment. The chief, the captain, the sergeant, they all were relying on him to keep the Pancake House property free of mischief. Officer Delinko understood that if he did the job well, his career at the Coconut Cove Public Safety Department would once again be on the fast track. He could easily see a gold detective's badge in his future. Trudging through the shadows, Officer Delinko pictured himself in a tailored suit instead of a starchy uniform. In a different Crown Victoria, the charcoal gray, unmarked model reserved for detectives, and wearing a shoulder holster instead of a hip belt. He was daydreaming about getting an ankle holster, too, and a lightweight pistol to go with it, when he abruptly performed an involuntary somersault across the sandy scrub. Oh, not again, the patrolman thought. He groped around until he located his flashlight, but at first it didn't work. He shook it a few times, and finally the bulb flickered on faintly. Sure enough, he'd stepped in another owl burrow. Officer Delinko got to his feet and smoothed the creases of his trousers. "Good thing Curly's not awake to see this," he mumbled. "Heh," came a small, raspy voice in reply. Officer Delinko slapped his right hand on the butt of his gun. With his left hand, he aimed the flashlight toward the unseen intruder. "Freeze!" the patrolman commanded. Heh, heh, heh. Back and forth went the yellow beam of light, revealing nothing. The grunty, asthmatic-sounding voice seemed to come out of nowhere. Officer Delinko carefully took 2 steps forward and aimed the flashlight down the hole in which he tripped. An inquisitive pair of bright amber eyes peeked up from the blackness. Heh! The patrolman took his hand off his gun and cautiously dropped to a crouch. "Why, hello there," he said. "Heh, heh, heh." It was a baby owl, no more than 5 or 6 inches tall. Officer Delinko had never seen anything so delicately perfect. "Heh," said the owl. "Heh," said the policeman, though his voice was too deep to do a proper imitation. "I bet you're waiting for Mama and Papa to bring supper home, aren't you?" The amber eyes blinked. The yellow beak opened and closed expectantly. The little round head rotated back and forth. Officer Delinko laughed aloud. He was fascinated by the miniature bird. Dimming the flashlight, he said, "Don't worry, sport. I'm not going to hurt you." From overhead came a frenzied flutter, followed by a harsh kish, kish, kish. The patrolman glanced up and saw, framed against the starlit sky, 2 winged silhouettes, the baby owl's parents anxiously circling their frightened fledgling. Officer Delinko slowly began backing away from the burrow, hoping that the grown-up birds would realize it was safe to land. In the blue-gray sky he could see their dusky shapes, wheeling lower and lower, and he quickened his retreat. Even after the two owls alighted, even after he watched them disappear like feathered ghosts in the ground, Officer Delinko continued moving away, backing up step by step until he bumped into something so big and so cold and so hard that it almost knocked the breath out of him. He spun around and switched on the flashlight. It was the bulldozer. Officer Delinko had clonked directly into one of Curly's earth-moving machines. He glared up at the steel hulk, rubbing his bruised shoulder. He didn't notice that the seat was gone, and even if he had, he wouldn't have given it a worry. The policeman was grimly preoccupied with another concern. His gaze shifted from the massive bulldozer to the bird burrow, then back again. Until that moment, Officer David Delinko had been so busy worrying about solving the Mother Paula's case and saving his own career that he hadn't thought much about anything else. Now he understood what was going to happen to the little owls if he did his job properly, and it weighted him with an aching and unshakable sorrow. Roy's father had worked late, so Roy hadn't had a chance to tell him what he'd learned about the owls on the internet, and that one of the Pancake House files had been removed from the building department. It seemed very suspicious, and Roy wanted to hear his father's theory about what might have happened. But Roy went speechless the moment he sat down at breakfast. There, smiling kindly at him from the back page of his father's newspaper, was Mother Paula herself. It was a half-page advertisement under a banner of bold, patriotic-style lettering. Mother Paula's All-American House of Pancakes, home of world-famous mouth-watering licorice oatmeal flapjack, is proud to become your new neighbor at Coconut Cove. Mother Paula welcomes you to join her in person tomorrow at noon for a gala groundbreaking ceremony at the corner of East Oriole and Woodbury, the future location of our 469th family-style restaurant in the United States, Canada, and Jamaica. Roy dropped his spoon, launching a soggy wad of Fruit Loops across the kitchen. "What's wrong, honey?" his mother asked. Roy felt sick to his stomach. "Nothing, Mom." Then Mrs. Eberhardt spotted the advertisement, too. "I'm sorry, Roy. It's hard to think about those poor helpless birds, I know." Mr. Eberhardt flipped the newspaper over to see what his wife and son were staring at. He frowned and said, "Guess they're moving along pretty quickly with that project." Roy stood up in a dull fog. "I better go. I don't want to miss the bus." "Oh, there's plenty of time. Sit down and finish your breakfast," his mother said. Roy shook his head numbly. He grabbed his backpack off the chair. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad." "Roy, wait. You want to talk?" "Not really, Dad." His father folded the newspaper and handed it to him. "Don't you have current events today?" "Oh, yeah," said Roy. "I forgot." Every Tuesday, Mr. Ryan's history students were supposed to bring a topic for a current events discussion. On those days, Roy's father had always gave him the newspaper so that he could read it on the bus and pick out a timely article. "How about if I take you to school today?" his mother offered. Roy could tell she felt sorry for him because of the news about the Pancake House. She thought the owls were doomed, but Roy wasn't ready to give up hope. "That's okay." He stuffed the newspaper into his backpack. "Mom, can I borrow your camera?" "Well, for a class," Roy added, wincing inwardly at the lie. "I'll be real careful, I promise." "All right, I don't see why not." Roy carefully packed the digital camera among his books, gave his mother a hug, waved to his father, and streaked out the door. He jogged past his regular bus stop and kept going, all the way to the one on West Oriole, Beatrice Leak Street. None of the other Trace Middle kids had arrived yet, so Roy ran to Beatrice's house and waited on the front sidewalk. He tried to cook up a good excuse for being there in case Lana or Leon noticed him. It was Beatrice who finally came out the front door, and Roy ran up so fast that he nearly knocked her down. "What happened to you yesterday? Where's your brother? Did you see the paper this morning? Did you—" She slapped a hand over his mouth. "Easy, cowgirl," she said. "Let's go wait for the bus. We'll talk on the way." As Roy suspected, Beatrice had not broken a tooth falling down the steps. She'd broken it while biting a ring off one of her stepmother's toes. The ring was made from a small topaz charm that Beatrice's mother had left behind when she moved away. Lana had pilfered the stone from Leon Leap's sock drawer and had gotten it made into a snazzy toe ring for herself. Beatrice had taken exception to the theft. "If my old man wanted Lana to have it, he would have given it to her," she growled. "So you gnawed it off her toe? How?" Roy was astounded. Wasn't easy. Beatrice made a chimpanzee face and pointed at a sharp stump where one of her incisor teeth used to be. Broke the tip off. They're going to make me a fake one so it looks like brand new, she explained. Good thing my old man has dental insurance. She was awake when you did this? Yeah, said Beatrice, but she probably wishes she wasn't. Anyway, tell me what was in the paper this morning that you got all freaked out. She groaned when Roy showed her the advertisement for the Mother Paula's groundbreaking extravaganza. Just what the world needs, another pancake joint. Where's your brother? Roy asked. You think he's heard about this? Beatrice said she hadn't seen Mulletfinger since Sunday. That's when the you-know-what hit the fan. He was hiding in the garage waiting for me to get him some clean shirts when my dad walked out for another case of Mountain Dew. The two of them were just standing around talking, perfectly friendly, when Lana shows up and pitches a major hissy. What happened then? Roy said. He ran off like a scalded dog. Meantime, Lana and my old man get into this humongous fight. The one you told me about? Right, said Beatrice. Dad wants my brother to come back and live with us again, but Lana says no way. Well, no way, Jose, he's a bad seed. What the heck does that mean, Tex? Bad seed. Anyway, they're still not speaking to each other, Lana and my dad. The whole house feels like it's about to explode. To Roy, Beatrice's situation sounded like a living nightmare. Need a place to hide out, he said? Or he asked. That's okay. Dad says he feels better when I'm around, Beatrice laughed. Lana told him I'm dangerous and crazy. She might be half right. When they got to the bus stop, Beatrice hooked up with one of her soccer teammates, and they started talking about the previous night's game, which Beatrice had won with a penalty kick. Roy held back and didn't say much, though he felt the curious stares from other kids. He was, after all, the boy who had defied Dana Matherson and survived. He was surprised when Beatrice Leib ditched her teammates and sat next to him on the bus. Let me see that newspaper again, she whispered. As she studied the Mother Paula's advertisement, she said, We've got two choices, Tex. We either tell him or we don't. I say we do more than just tell him. Join him, you mean, like you said the other night? It's them against him, all alone. He doesn't have a chance, Roy said. For sure, but we could, all three of us, end up in juvie hall. Not if we're cool about it. Beatrice eyed him curiously. You got a plan, Eberhard? Roy took his mother's camera out of the backpack and showed it to Beatrice. I'm listening, she said. So Roy told her.